Morning.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. Welcome back.
Hey, hey, hey.
I can't believe it's a new season already.
Yeah.
Right?
Huh?
We're here pushing through, pushing through. What's up, Rockaz family?
Yeah, I think we're all well. You're at home, which is great.
Yes,
I'm not quite
yes.
at home. It's at home.
It's at home, not at home.
One
We
of the
get
homes.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not at home, but
Mm-hmm.
family, so which is really good. Like, 'cause
Which
the
is
whole
good.
a whole section of the Lions clan have come together for
That's
this weekend
awesome.
for my nieces.
Nice,
Um,
nice, nice.
her what do you call it? Baby shower. I'm here with my
Okay.
cousin Diane and my cousin Antoinette.
Sweet.
So full of Jamaicans in the house.
And
Listen,
Nice.
full beach day, but not Jamaican beach, Florida beach.
Right.
listen, listen. The water in was a clear water, Florida we were in. The water was so warm,
Oh,
Nice.
so clear. So it was good. It was good.
It's good.
perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Nice.
All
Mm.
right. So season three. Season three. We're here.
Season 3, we're here. Yeah.
We're in season three. After a lot of hemming and hawing about when to start and what to start with. Yeah, with Fabian, we're not gonna badmouth him still, but anyway,
He may not be here. That's it. So, Rockaz family,
he
he
may
may
not be
not
here.
be here, but he's here in spirit.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. We can twist his arm.
Yes.
So what we're starting with? Which book we're
So
starting?
we are starting with Duppy by
Duppy.
Anthony Winkler.
Anthony Winkler of what's the famous book?
Mad Lunatic.
The
Is
Lunatic.
Lunatic? Lunatic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You have to read that book at some point.
Yeah.
yeah, one of the authors and the type of books that maybe our generations before would have been familiar with. I think after us, I don't know if his book would only be like our generation would know. Definitely how it
Mm.
was a part of the school curriculum here in Jamaica kind
Okay.
of fell off after, early 2000s.
Mm.
So yeah. So
Cool.
it's interesting,
Very witty.
very witty.
Yeah, and dry.
You have to, I mean, let me just start by saying I was there and I'm reading some of the opening chapters and I'm saying, and let me just say to anybody who was going to go on this journey with us and take this book, I at least am fully aware that Anthony Winkler might have been cancelled in today's world.
Yeah, we were saying the same thing. We were saying this. I was saying this before we started. I was like, some of these problematic things in the beginning. Nowadays,
Let's just talk about it.
like that the Jamaican version of the N word that he
Yes.
describe himself.
I mean, and just the way he kind of talks, the way he talks about the women, the way he talks about the helpers.
yes.
And
Yes.
let's just say he legit may have been cancelled today, and it is what it is.
Yeah,
But you know what though?
it's a window in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what though? I was saying to Michael that like actually right now in the world we need some political incorrectness.
Yeah.
Like we have to like challenge like this sanitization
Yeah,
Of books
literature
and literary pieces.
art of because they're meant to be a place to have conversations that sometimes are more difficult to have or about behavior that occurs in our regular lives, right?
Yeah.
And that like I think that people are losing their ability to like really be able to engage with humor and satire from a place of intelligence and empathy. You
Not
know,
even humor and satire, but
fun.
to engage with things that make us uncomfortable
Exactly.
and why it makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
and if the US is anything to go by, a lot of these problematic behaviors. Sometimes you become woke or whatever about it or PC about it, but they're still going on under
Yeah.
certain circles. They're still happening, and
Yeah.
they're not really dealt with. They're not discussed. They're not broken down. They're just
Hmm.
sublimated.
Yeah. And I
You know,
think one of the
Yeah.
things about the kind of a part of being woke is, for me at least, is analyzing the disrespect
it's the
and knowing
awareness.
how to. It's not about white glossing it over and saying, let's not say this anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, let's not say this, but why don't we say this?
Right.
So I think,
What have you replaced it with?
yeah.
Yeah. And where does this behavior come from?
Right.
Or
Hmm.
the mindset, right? Because Until you do that, you can't unpack it and be like, okay, so we're going to stop encouraging our young men or our young women to do
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z, or we're
Mm-hmm.
going to stop creating situations where this particular kind of behavior is normalized
Right.
because somebody's parent or grandparent or whoever
Mm-hmm.
condoned it or behaved in this particular sort of way. It's not culture,
Right.
Right.
right? And what's the difference between what is culture and what is this sort of
Yeah.
learned behavior that's damaging in some way?
And if it was culture, why was it culture? That's my thing. Why was it culture? Because it was a legit, as you said, Michael, a snapping time. It
Yeah.
is a legit way that we used to talk, we used to interact, we used to do all the things that we used to do, and it was normal at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I definitely coming from, I think, a Caribbean place, a black place, a colonial space, we did not have the liberty to operate in the way that maybe first world countries or whatever the global north could
Mm,
operate. There is a way that our colonial status, things had to be the way it was.
mm.
So, you know,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm grateful for the learning because like that happened real time. I was reading, was it chapter 1 or chapter 2 that he uses that word NEG?
All of them, all of the chapters, Antonio,
No, I'm
all of
not
the chapters.
NEGRA. He doesn't use it in the first chapter.
No, it's the second from the second chapter.
He introduces the term
Yeah.
to
In the chapter
the listener, right?
yeah, it's
But
when he observes himself on
himself on the floor,
On the
right?
floor. Yeah.
And so I was like, I've never heard this growing up in
Do you
patois.
know how it's pronounced? You pronounce it. You got it pronounced.
Yes, because I said to my cousin, I was like, there's a Jamaican version of this word. Like there's a patois version of this word. She's like, no, sir. And I was like, well, it's spelled NGRA. And I tried to pronounce it. And she was like, and she's like, hold on.
you know why in there.
I mean, right. And then she said, no, it's pronounced like this. And I was like, and it means the same thing as the American NIGGA or any. She was like, yeah, I
It's
guess
basically
so.
the same thing. I don't know if it's quite
Yeah.
as caustic.
Right. I was
Yeah.
just about to say that, Michael. I don't think it's quite as. It's not ER.
Right.
Right, right.
In many ways, it's not A either.
It's not, yes, neither of those.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
its own
It's not-
thing. I mean,
It's not
more than not, it was done in a derogatory term, but
right.
not to class race, but to class station in life,
You're right. Yeah.
socioeconomic
Mm.
way of referring to and behavior. So even in the way that he uses the term butu a lot, which
Mm.
again has faced some of the scrutiny, I think, back in the early days, but still in the same way that how do you define what is a butu and what is butu behavior?
And that's a very classist thing.
Antonio is looking.
And you
Explain.
know,
Please
You don't
tell
know
me
what a
more.
butu is?
someone who's uncouth.
Uncouth.
Antoinette, you know this word? Butu.
Butu.
Your mother never use it?
Bless God, bless God. That's a good mother.
But there's a terminology. There's a phrase that you use with butu a lot. It's not always, but you know, a Benz is still a butu.
A butu in a Benz is still a butu.
Regardless of how you're trying to go, you know, if you're uncouth,
yeah, no matter.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of the like a new rich or a nouveau riche,
right.
Mhm.
you know, type of thing. I'm from the hood. I may be uptown now, but I'm still from the hood. And what
Right.
is hood behavior? What is butu behavior?
Right. And
Yeah.
honestly, you know, as we say, butus can come from any
Correct.
class, any
Mm.
And
class.
being born anyway, because it's
Yeah.
really about an uncouth type of
Yeah,
behavior.
it's about your behavior, how you interface with people, how you know, how you meet society.
Does it denote like a level of ignorance as well?
Yes.
Uh,
Ignorance. You're oh, she muted you talking. Yeah, ignorance and I guess uncultured, I guess, is a the way to say it.
all right.
Yeah.
Rockaz family, permit me 2 minutes. Let me do a Father's Day duty, but I'm still hearing.
Yes,
I'm still here.
Okay, no problem.
Leave your camera on. I just turn off your mic. Yes. We know you're there. Because what we're talking about, Abutu, right? yeah, it's just being crass, being, you know,
Mm.
what. But then, even all those things nowadays, all those things are subjective. What is crass and what it isn't,
Yeah.
is so subjective.
Yeah.
What offends me is not going to be the same thing that offends you.
It's true. It's true.
So
But you know what? I really wanted to say, like, one of the things that I really appreciated about this book
mhm.
was how he wrote it first person.
Yes,
That was such a delicious thing to enter into this world in this way. Like, this thing is happening to this man
right.
right now, and he is like just telling us like what's happening, like play by play, blow by blow. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And in fact, I mean, I'm trying to remember. I think the author Anthony Winkler is like a white Jamaican.
Are
I'm
you
not.
serious?
Yeah. So even that's interesting the way he's written this character from the first person. Yeah, yeah,
I never knew that.
yeah. I'm gonna Google him just to be sure, but that's in my memory. That's what he is.
What is in your memory?
Anthony Winkler is a white Jamaican, no?
He is very, so I was about to say, so we've been kind of talking around, so around it. So Anthony Winkler is a white Jamaican man who raised, born and raised in Jamaica in a particular time in
Right.
Jamaica's legacy. And so even the fact that he's writing about this character who is not a white Jamaican, very much a black Jamaican, right? So we could start there.
This is so
And-
problematic, bro.
Yeah.
I cannot handle this. Right.
I mean, and he's not. I mean, I just Googled him, and he's not even the kind of white Jamaican that you can go, well, he's kind of white, but this is
No,
like
no, white.
a proper
White. Real white.
So he's like a Rachel Dozier on paper right now.
I don't know who Rachel Dozier is.
Rachel Dozier is that one who pretended these many years people thought she was black,
Uh-huh.
and then it came out the other day that she was proper white.
Yes.
Okay.
But he's Jamaican
still-
and he's a writer. He's gonna have to be able to write all the Jamaicans.
No, sir.
And he is, as you know, people always say it's so funny in the age of social media and so on, when you see people on Instagram or on TikTok or whatever, and they are white Jamaicans, Asian Jamaicans, whatever, and they hear the accent, and people still go, I hear Jamaica, but I don't see Jamaica. And I'm like, are we still doing this in 2025?
Because you don't know who Jamaica is, so you're not gonna see
Are we
Jamaica.
still doing this?
Right.
So I'm very, so it's very much
Jamaican
like
person.
that.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but why couldn't he just written it from a white Jamaican perspective? Like, why does he have to cosplay blackness?
I don't think
I don't think
think
he was cosplaying though.
that's cosplaying blackness. I think he's writing a character, and he's writing many characters in it. That's it. He wrote,
And
Even to write the story is like, when you're writing anything, like you are channeling something.
he could be channeling a neighbor. He could be channeling an uncle he
friend
grew
or
up with.
somebody. Yeah, exactly. Because he is.
Is he still alive?
You see?
Let me check.
Now Google that, Mike. Yeah,
Now I
definitely
want
Google that.
to ask him. Yo, my cousins have like the most going on with their ringtones right now.
Yeah, he's still. No, he died. He died in 2015.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So when I think about even when, let's go all the way there, Michael Manley or Eddie Seaga or all of them wrote about Jamaica. I mean, granted, they were kind of writing with a political lens and so forth, but because is it that they could not understand the plight of the black people, or they could not write from a black perspective?
And they could. They did.
They did.
Yeah.
They will wait. Okay, all right.
Antonio's like, wait a minute.
But you know them look a little brown. Them pure white.
They weren't white. I mean,
They're Jamaican whites.
but Michael was mixed. Thing there. Seaga was kind of
Mixed with what? Is it black or is it just Lebanese? It's
a few
or
things.
Syrian or whatever.
It's like three different things. Seaga was, and yeah, but I mean, I mixed with 6 different something. But
As am I. My
Yeah.
grandmother looks whiter than Michael,
yeah. So I
which
mean,
is the plight of the Caribbean person.
the Caribbean and Latin America that's what it is.
Yes.
And so you are, all these things make you who you are. plus you're among all these various different things. So it's not, especially because I think also because you grew up kind of in the US too, Antonio. It feels weird to you, but it's very different, right? It's a complete different way of thinking and look at things. When you grew up in Jamaica with those things, because you grew up just being Jamaican. You don't grow up being, oh, I'm a this Jamaican or that Jamaican. You grew up being Jamaican. So any other Jamaica, you can write Jamaican.
And you feel like that's because of, do you think that because that perspective can sit and sustain in a way, minus the complications of the kind of race structures that exist in the US because Black people are the majority?
I don't know if that mattered. Honestly, I don't know, but maybe I'm not the one to say. But I think a lot of it, I think the bigger issues are class issues. I think yes, there's colorism too, but I think the bigger issues are the class issues rather than race issues, especially since everybody mixed up with something.
Right. I mean, even in our family, there's like,
regardless of how you present, a lot of people are mixed with something. You know,
interesting. Well,
and that's I mean, and that's where, like, when I come to the US and depending on who is seeing me, how they perceive me, they're expecting a particular thing, then I kind of push back against that, because you know that thing where people will go, oh, he's trying to say he ain't Black. For me, that phrase is internalized Jim Crow. That is because in America you're Black or white because of the one drop thing and the Jim Crow thing. So even though Jim Crow is no longer, it's internalized in everybody here. So if you are trying to say you are not this particular thing because you have 5 different things that make you up, then you're trying to say you're not this, or you're trying to say you're not that because Jim Crow says you're one or the other. But science says something else.
Yeah. Well, I think also in the US, because it's also tied to culture, right? And the US doesn't have doesn't create space for multiple cultural identities, even separate from race, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so a lot of times when people are talking, I find that most of the time when people are talking about race, they're meaning also cultural identity.
Right. Well, I mean,
and particularly in the diaspora in the US, right? The conversations that people are having, because it was sometimes treated as a monolith, right? So I go through that. Oh, like this idea.
I'm very.
You're African American. I was like, and I am also. I am also. And you will not dismiss that because it is.
Yeah, I'm very almost militant with insisting on being the many things that I am.
That I am.
Yeah. And I don't play with it. I don't allow anybody to tell me who I am.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, again, which is why I said I think that this is going to be such an interesting journey, this book, and even talking about the author and, unpacking what he says, because if as you said, somebody from another culture or a North American person is reading the book, especially one without the context, I think they will look at it and just see somebody think. So this is almost like a deeply Caribbean, deeply Jamaican way as we go into emancipation season of writing and being and looking at why would it be okay for a white Jamaican author to write about a Black character who classes everybody as nigger. And what is a nigger? What is a nigger? What is a nigger?
Yeah.
And looking at all the different ways that as a Jamaican, as a Jamaican at this point in my life, I read it and can see all the different layers and recognize also that there are many other Jamaicans that would read it and gloss right over it because it doesn't bring off any alarms at all. Because people still say that word, by the way, Anthony.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You still say it. Okay. You still say it. Yeah, man. Old nigga them.
Yeah, especially with that old before it.
Correct.
Yeah, my cousin is in agreement.
Yeah, old nigga them. And you don't kind of sit down and go, oh my God, I need to correct that person right now.
and it's used kind of similarly to butu.
Yes.
It's about
It's
culture.
not about a black person.
Yes,
We're all
yeah.
black here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's things. So this book, I mean, the listeners don't know. So this book is about a man who woke up one day and found himself dead.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, can I just read that opening line because it's
Sure.
just so hold on. That very first line. One Saturday morning, not very long ago, I dropped dead and turned into a duppy. I was like, what? I was like, what are you saying here? Like, what do you mean you just dropped it? And you're consciously able to talk about it and write about it.
Write about it, yes.
Yeah. No. Like, what is this? I was like, where are we going with this story?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that line.
I love when he's made, but I mean, and clearly this is a well-to-do black man who has a maid and a gardener and several businesses. Drop dead, and the maid never get paid. The gardener never get paid.
Listen, clean out the whole other wallet. Clean it out.
Just share it up. You're muted, Shada.
And saying and paid themselves.
And pay themselves. And pay themselves not just this week's pay, but several weeks after.
And
Plus
even Christmas bonus pay.
Christmas bonus.
What I'm saying. I love the way that last line when they finished it, how he described the wallet, when they put it back into his pocket.
Disrespectful.
He said, "Oh, here it is. And when they finally returned my wallet to my back pocket, it was as flabby and limp as a fat fish after gutting." I was like, who? Wow.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
And then when he talks about that, like, she didn't kind of set back.
Mm-hmm.
This was a problem that he also would have been. This is very Me Too cancellation.
Yes.
He was imagining what he was noticing her voluptuousness.
Right.
But how he described it, her foot was resting on his dead head. I was like, what is happening? Yeah, and how it quickly went from like this story of, one, I can't believe this thing has happened to me, and it can't be real, it can't be true, to then noticing all this injustice is happening. And then by the time you get to the end of chapter 3, he is now thinking of all the lecherous and mischievous things that he could do
as a ghost.
Like, now he's accepted it in a way that you weren't quite expecting him to accept it.
Like, yes, let the journey begin.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, okay, where will he launch us into in chapter 4?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So what did I miss? I'm doing 5 duties at once. Forgive me.
That's all right. This makes the live stream interesting.
It makes it real and authentic. Because over here at Rockaz.
Are you cooking?
Well, I finished cooking. I'm now serving.
I see. Okay.
So my father and my father's friend is here for Father's Day.
So potato salad. What else?
I did potato salad. I did corn on the cob. I did some
You said curry shrimp at one point.
Curry shrimp. I did some like butter garlic salmon, and this is like baked chicken, basically. And then there's rice and peas here and so on. Yeah. So my father is that character. You know, you don't take my father out for brunch on Father's Day. That's not. You don't get him a toolkit. That's not it. You come around and you're there and you kind of make the most of him and you cook for him, and that will be his thing.
You hang out with him,
yeah. He's never gonna be that guy.
Yeah.
Real proper old Jamaican man.
Yep. Proper.
Yeah.
You're at his house now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And you made dessert too? You made something for sweet to eat? No, sir.
That one is above my pay grade. Here is the dessert.
Okay. Well, it's
Oh,
fantasies.
okay.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Good.
Right. I love it.
Oh my god.
How many chapters does this book have?
I
No, there's
was,
four
I was.
chapters.
That's what I wanted to. What does the thing say?
Let me look at
Let me look. 26.
Okay, that's not bad.
Oh,
And they're
it's a
short.
short book then.
Yeah.
Because again, on top of going to the journey is about him navigating his way in a very Jamaican style to heaven.
Okay. Mhm.
Now we don't know what happened when they reach heaven. When they reach that part at the end of the book yet,
Okay. Or if he gets there.
or if they even get there. They're journeying to heaven on a minibus and through a culvert
Sorry, that's funny.
that they would have to, I don't know, slide through or something. And it's so funny because it makes mention of how what he was saying. So where is the whole, white light in a room where I'm looking? And the Duppy guide was just like, no. The American government has paid for Americans to have white light and an easy way to heaven. That
Right.
don't happen down here. We have to get to heaven through different means.
Okay.
What I find funny is that the Duppies who are crawling through walls and going through people have to go on a minibus and sit on a minibus and drive out
To heaven.
to not to heaven, to heaven's gate, which is the
Oh, I
culvert,
see.
in a cane field.
Okay.
But it's interesting how he sets up very early on the things that in this form he can do and he can do, right?
Yes.
So he can put them hand through wall, but he can't climb back inside his own body.
No.
Right. But apparently he can feel up woman.
No, well, he can put his hand through a woman, but you don't get the feeling. But I gather
Are you
from
sure?
the Duppy
Because
guide. No, I gather from the Duppy guide that is a level up in the Duppiness, because the Duppy guide was able to make the human minibus driver slow down because he could feel it. So I
Okay.
don't know if he's after he reach a certain level of Duppiness.
That's like a haunting.
Yes.
I guess it was a question that came to his mind because at the end of chapter 3 he says, "Suddenly I suffered temptations. If my hand could pass through a wall, couldn't it also pass through the frock and drawers?"
So I
Indeed.
don't know if it is that is chapter 4, Antonio, but he did do it and couldn't feel anything.
Oh, okay.
He tried it.
He couldn't feel it. He tried it. Never worked out for him. Couldn't feel it.
Thank God. Jesus. Can you imagine the trauma that Mabel would have gone through?
Yeah.
Mabel fed her pocket. Mabel was going through no trauma.
Yeah, she's
Listen,
fine.
if he had been able to feel her up, because he
Oh,
wouldn't have stopped.
no. So again, about being cancelled and all of these things, there's a comment that the guy made about the rights that the men and an employer should have to freely be on top of and grind his employee.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
that was in there
You
too.
talk about that as well. Right.
But
Yep.
a memory comes to me. I think it's Calabash Past, where he was reading. Anthony was reading from his book. He might have read from like 2 of them. I'm not sure if it's this book, but it was one of them that was hilarious. And the way he was reading it, all of Calabash was in stitches from his delivery of his own book. It was on point, amazing.
Yeah. It was top class behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were there too, Shona?
I'm trying to remember if I was at that one. That might have been my first and only time seeing him. I don't know if it was a time that Eddie also launched his book. And we were all sitting under that tent and the person was there. So I'm not sure. But I think I do have a memory of it. So maybe, just maybe.
Diane, have you ever been to Calabash? You know Calabash?
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay.
One day Rockaz Book Club will be there.
One day, yes. We'll sort it out.
We'll sort it.
The idea is to catch on to some people. We need some members.
Need some money. I guarantee you the year we go and we pitch tent at Calabash, we'll get the members.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what though? You know what would be interesting as well? I feel like the Black Theater Conference that happens in Winston-Salem,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a diaspora thing. Like, I wonder if they have like a literary part. Like, it would be interesting to
Mm-hmm.
like be there and read excerpts from some of these books and talk
Hmm.
books in a very real kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're very often represented in any form in terms of Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
That's I think that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we get there, I think I can see we can have running stream and clips of or past episodes, and
Yeah.
we'll we'll bomb. We'll bomb.
Mm-hmm.
If not next year, the year after, we'll get it done.
Yeah.
We'll get it done. Yeah.
So how many chapters we're trying to do for each meetup? Like, because they're short, like
Right.
4, 5.
4. Yeah.
I think
We can do 4 or 5 because they're the because of how it is written, they're short, but there's also lots to unpack in
True.
each chapter.
Yeah.
So even in the early 4-1, just even him mentioning just the kind of the way, and look how much we've kind of talked about already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll find a lot to unpack during the 4 or 5 chapters. So I think that should be good. And anybody who is following along with us, they'll probably, read it through and get it done in a fairly fast manner as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the 4 or 5 is good as well.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to just talk about a bit about this book is that, and Shauna, you touched on it a bit in terms of the class issues,
Mhm.
right? Like that, that the workers, the gardener and the woman who worked in the house, that how very little sympathy they had for him being gone, and the performance of grief of the employer, and then the immediate switch to make you believe that he did not treat them well, right? And even by his own admission, to be like, I never gave you bonuses. I never did that. Just kind of like, and then you also frame it in a Michael as a particular book written in a particular time,
Mm-hmm.
to suggest that some of this behavior doesn't exist in the same way in sort of contemporary Jamaica, or if it does, it might be something that's slightly different. I don't know, but I thought it was really interesting that this sort of class thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it still exists for sure, but then also we need to think that this is a story about one person, which doesn't represent all people, right? It's one,
Right.
it's not of this one person. Because yes, I know people. I mean, maybe we didn't call them maids, but we had
We
helpers.
don't.
All of us have helpers, but some people do. Some parts of society, some of them have the maids different from the helpers, and they have the
I
uniform.
wanted to talk about that.
Right.
I wanted to talk
Right.
about that and how
And
that is a
then-
disappearing culture, but it
Yeah.
has not disappeared.
Exactly.
Every once in a while, Antonio, you will go to a particular type of supermarket, for example, and you will see people walking, and you will see a maid in the maid uniform, which in Jamaica is like, not in America, it's black and white, but it's a light green or light pink,
Or blue.
one that kind of, or blue, that has the apron in front of them.
The same in South Africa.
Right, walking with a family.
Right.
That's a maid.
Yeah.
Right. And far be it for many of the Jamaicans to now, to even me, I find the word maid problematic. And then I said, okay, but Shauna, you literally grew up with a helper your entire life. So what's your beef?
Exactly.
For me, for me, you can go there.
Hello.
Yeah. For me, though, it's even in the word, Antonio. It's what does a helper versus a maid mean? So in my head, is my helper helps me. A maid does it for me.
Right.
Which may happen in lots of houses that the helper does it for the children.
Mhm.
But you will hear children refer to the helper as auntie so and so,
Right.
growing up, or miss
Yes,
so
something, yeah.
and so.
And then
Hold
there's a difference between the helper who comes in the morning and leaves in the afternoon, and the
Right.
helper who lives in.
Who lives in?
Oh,
Right.
yeah. So Dan wanted to offer something to that. Go ahead.
Please do.
Shauna, I actually said it just a second before you said it in terms of the helper. Now, me as a child, I didn't really grow up in Jamaica, but I have cousins who are still there. They're grown, they're adults. Like my first cousin, and whereas his kids, they've grown up with helpers. When I had my son, and we went to Jamaica and they visited, the helper in my family was basically extended family, and referred to as, like you were saying, either auntie or miss. Even I myself to this day refer to whether former helpers, I don't know the current one, as Miss Jennifer, Miss Gloria, and with respect. But when I go to Jamaica, I bring things for them. You know?
Same. Yeah.
And they're at the weddings, they're at the birthday celebrations, they're at everything.
At the funerals.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
They're extended family,
No,
I would hope.
but it depends. It depends on the family how well they're treated too. I mean, some of them are just treated. They get a pay and that's it. Or if they're living in, they get a pay and then every month they'll take the weekend off and go to their family and blah blah blah. But other people really treat them like a member of the family, and then they get the bonuses and they get the things, and they go shopping for them for specific things that they might want and things, and they're really well taken care of, and they feel comfortable. And but it just depends. Not everybody is the same.
Yeah, it's true. And then the same culture exists in South Africa.
Yeah, and it exists across the Caribbean. And Latin America. So I mean,
in the continent, and then some. I mean, even more, and also within South Africa, the helper could also be a family member from a rural area.
Right. Well, that would be, we wouldn't call. I mean, for us, we wouldn't call that a helper. That would be just, okay, your cousin thing is staying with us, and we run from the country, and they're staying with us, and they're helping with certain things. But you'd never call them a helper or a maid. Not your cousin, and not your, not the relative from the country. We wouldn't consider them a helper.
I do want to say that there are some people who might listen to it and say, oh no, that's not true, and they might pretend, because people do have different experiences,
right?
And again, it's I guess we're really talking about how the average family or so on would interact with this person, because for me it has not been my knowledge or narrative that they are less than, but there are people who will tell you that they have had experiences where people treat them helper bad and treat them helper like maid. And the auntie or the family member who come from country has become indentured slave. In fact, Jamaica's statistic, interestingly enough, right now, when we talk about the fact that even in Jamaica there is a high level of human trafficking, for sex trafficking, but also what you call it is the indentured working, where people cause a younger cousin or Miss so and so send our daughter to come at town. And they thought it was just to come and stay with the family. And it could be between any parishes, right? I'm saying town and country just because. And what has happened is that this person becomes a glorified slave, and sometimes not glorified either. So they have become this kind of laborer, this trafficked laborer. Because even sometimes you have the families from countries setting up stuff, monetary produce, whatever, to help out the family, thinking that they're just helping out the family and the child is there or the aunt is there and whatever, and don't know the reality that they're basically slave ship. And that's an increasing number happening in Jamaica.
Really?
That people don't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's so. When you listen to some of our statistics or the realities of what trafficking in Jamaica looks like, that is a big chunk of it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's rough.
So very interesting. And then still a lot of, you're lucky you get this opportunity to come at town.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's
they send them to quote unquote town. Say, okay, they need to go to school. Can you bored with you, you send them to school and you take care of them, and I'll pay this or whatever, but you don't know really what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And that is a reality that has happened
Mhm.
quite a lot. So it's all in the mix.
Yeah.
It's all in the mix and the reality. And a lot of you people can say that to you. Colonial theorists will say,
Mhm.
again, that is a result of our colonial past.
Yeah.
Mm.
But as I say, if you ask 7 Jamaicans the same question, you're gonna get 7 different
The
answers,
answer,
7 different
yeah,
experiences,
yeah,
because no two experiences are the same.
are the same. Agreed.
I think wow. I had a couple of questions going on. So one of them, Sean, is like, where and how did you come across this information? And then the thought came into my mind that, like, while could be a remnant of this colonial past, I also wonder about sort of this contemporary world that we live in
Mhm.
that continues to devalue and dehumanize people, and the further disintegration of sort of social structures or um, culture, right?
Yeah,
A culture of care. Or
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think I would can literally go. I mean, so you guys know that I lecture social work, and
Right.
social work is my profession. So just coming across in studies and books, and when we have people from the like Sissoko or the anti-trafficking unit come and speak to our students, so I can see if I can get something and point you to any reports. I think if you
Mm,
look maybe UN reports or something that can. I actually think if you do a little more than a basic Google search about probably a UNDP report on
mm,
trafficking in Jamaica or something like that, a good report should have it mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah. And again, because a lot of people don't think trafficking of human happens in Jamaica. It
Mm,
happens, it just doesn't happen in the way that we think it happens. Because we think about, these girls or whoever in a back of a truck
Disappeared.
security disappearing and they go into a sex shop. Now,
right.
mind you, they back of particular Gleaner or not Gleaner, any newspaper, and you'll say looking for a young open-minded girl to work at a massage parlor.
Hmm. That's what that is.
That
Mm,
a lot of times that's what that
mm,
is. It
mm,
becomes a sex shop or a sex slave. A situation that them don't know because they're like, oh, me work as a masseuse. Them train them out to be a masseuse, not a massaging, or is
Hmm.
massaging plus.
Right.
mm,
So it's it's there, kids. It's
mm.
there.
Hmm.
Wow.
So
That
I'll see if I can point you to some of those reports.
Yeah, I mean, that puts a whole different spin on this idea of what does it mean for these employees to not have job satisfaction, and like
Right.
why, like what are the things, because one say like in that first chapter about rubbing up.
Yes, that's he's talking about how he might interface with the maid or with the people in his
Yeah.
employ, and
Yeah.
the only way that they'll be that close is if there are other things going on aside from the regular work.
Yeah, because he'd say, moreover, as everyone knows, the common pastime of a Jamaican duppy to romp on the naked bellies of sleeping church sisters is an entirely frivolous one that requires no formal schooling, literacy, or intellectual skills. Indeed, it is widely believed, and I myself believe it, that Jamaican duppy is illiterate, no free places in the schools ever having been set aside by successive governments for education of the substantial duppy population known to roam. So, you know what I mean? Like that it's like that the belief system that Duppy is given over to like their baseness of themselves
Right.
Hmm.
to wreak havoc on women who are considered to be, prim and proper
Right.
is yeah, wild.
So there's gonna be lots to unpack in this book.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Or let's wrap there. There's going to be so much interesting things to unpack in this book. and the good and the bad,
Yeah.
and the political correctness, and why some things probably do need to be PC in these days, but also understanding the history of it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those really good things that they probably should bring books like this back on to this generation of kids, for them to understand these Instagram words and handles and hashtag words that they hear, and they think they know what it is. And,
Yeah.
and to because God knows critical analysis is lacking in this generation.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be an interesting ride, and fun and short and quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And
welcome
not
that.
heavy at all.
Yeah, not heavy at all. We're probably making it much more heavier than he intended.
But that's a good book, right, Antonio? That's a good book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for you to kind of go through and go, all right, this works for whatever it is.
And I appreciate that, like, we're delving into this idea of death and
Mhm.
mysticism and spirit in a way that is not necessarily through a Christian lens, but is through cultural folklore, right?
Right.
And what it bumps up against, it's actually in complete opposition to the conservative version of the straight-laced Jamaican viewing the world about what's possible.
Yeah. It's gonna be good times. It's gonna be good times.
Yeah. Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Good choice. So yeah.
All right. So yeah, I think we can.
Mhm.
I added a link in the chat. Hopefully, it will still be there once we come off.
Right.
To join the club. If
Mhm.
so, let me see if I can.
When this is up, we will be able to, forward this out to people to just like, hey, listen, this is gonna be the book. This is the season. Come on with it. This is the season. Yeah. So
Well, it is always good to be in community, literary
Yes.
community with you both.
Yes, it's good to be back
It is.
together again. Yeah.
It is.
No.
I was listening. It's a good outlet for us to have, even though when we kind of think that I literally don't have time for this,
Right.
and then you do it, and then
Yeah,
you're like, oh wait, no, I needed this as a part of my Sunday. How about you?
Exactly.
Yes, for sure. It was nice.
Exactly.
It was good.
So, yeah.
So what did we agree on? Still every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I ended.
We can do it every 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So let me bring that up, and we can wrap it up.
Wrap it
Hold
up.
on one second. Say again, Deanne.
I just wanted to thank you for allowing us to sit in and a little participation. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for participating with
We
our
expect to see you next 2 weeks.
I'm the very best.
I'll twist our arm.
Please do. You can join us from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, man. Just join the club and come in.
All right.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
You can get the book online,
Yeah.
on Kindle, because it's not. God bless if you get it a hardcover book. It's gonna take you a little time.
I got it from Amazon.
You got the
Yeah, so did I.
paperback?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, you got the paperback, Antonio?
Mm.
Okay, we have the Kindle version reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the
Alrighty.
It
Yeah.
looked like it once was a library book. All right. So-
All right, guys.
Bye.
Oh, and happy Father's Day to all our
Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Yeah, and a happy Father's Day to your dads, Shona.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And in bread.